Why some souls are born with heavy karmic memory. There are children who speak of houses they have never seen. They describe streets in cities where they have never walked. They know the names of people who died before they were born. They carry fears that have no origin in this lifetime, a terror of water when they have never drowned, a panic at the sound of gunfire when they have grown up in peace. These are the children who remember what they shouldn't. And if you are watching this now, perhaps you are one of them. Perhaps you still are. Perhaps you have always felt older than your years, carrying a weight in your chest that has no name, grieving for losses you cannot explain, knowing things no one ever taught you. You are not broken. You are not imagining it. And you are not alone. Some souls enter this world already bearing the imprints of what came before, ancient memories, unresolved patterns, karmic signatures that most others do not consciously carry. While the majority of souls pass through what mystics call the veil of forgetting, arriving fresh and new into each incarnation, you did not. You came through that veil differently. The question that has haunted you your entire life is simple. Why? Why do you remember when others forget? Why does your soul carry this heaviness, this old knowing, this burden of lifetimes? And most importantly, what does it mean? This is not a story about punishment. This is not a teaching about cosmic mistakes or karmic debt that must be paid through suffering. What you are about to discover is far more mysterious, far more sacred, and far more empowering than you have been told. You are about to learn that heavy karmic memory is not a curse. It is a calling. Some souls are born with their memories intact because they have been chosen for advanced spiritual work that can only be accomplished by those who remember. Your weight is not random. Your knowing is not accidental. And the heaviness you carry is preparation for medicine only you can bring into this world. Let us begin with the question that changes everything. What happens at the threshold between death and birth, and why do some souls cross it differently than others? In the moments before a soul incarnates, something profound occurs. Ancient spiritual traditions across the world describe it as the veil of forgetting, a sacred boundary between the realm of eternal knowing and the realm of earthly experience. As the soul prepares to enter a new body, to take on a new life, it passes through this veil, and in that passage, the memories of previous lifetimes are gently erased. This is not cruelty, this is mercy. Imagine carrying the full weight of every lifetime you have ever lived, every death, every betrayal, every heartbreak, every failure. Imagine a newborn child arriving with the conscious memory of 1,000 years of experience. The psyche could not bear it. The fresh experience of this new life would be impossible. And so the veil exists. Edgar Cayce, America's most documented psychic, described this passage in his readings as a necessary dimming of soul consciousness, allowing each incarnation to feel new, to feel like a genuine beginning rather than simply another chapter in an endless book. But here is what the traditions also teach. Not all souls pass through the veil in the same way. Some souls, whether by karmic necessity, by soul-level choice, or by spiritual readiness, pass through that veil incompletely. The erasure does not fully take. The forgetting does not entirely occur. And these souls arrive in their new bodies carrying echoes, fragments, or even full memories of what came before. In Vedic philosophy, this phenomenon is understood as samskara, the karmic impressions that survive death and continue forward. In Buddhist teachings on rebirth, certain souls are said to retain consciousness through the bardo, the intermediate state between lives, arriving in their next incarnation without losing the thread of continuity. Even in esoteric Christianity, there are teachings about souls who incarnate with their spiritual eyes already partially open. Souls who come into this world to serve specific missions that require them to remember who they truly are beneath the costume of this single lifetime. Edgar Cayce's readings confirm this understanding. In case after case preserved in the ARE archives, Cayce described souls whose past life memories remained accessible, not as psychological fantasy, but as actual karmic continuity. He saw that some souls reincarnate so quickly after death that the new personality has not fully formed, and the old one still bleeds through. He saw souls who chose, from the other side, to incarnate with memory intact, so they could complete unfinished work or serve as teachers for others still sleeping in forgetfulness. And he saw souls who carried such ancient and significant karmic patterns that those patterns could not be suppressed. They had to be remembered in order to be resolved. What this means is radical. If you were born remembering, it is not a malfunction in the system. It is a variation in your incarnation protocol. The veil exists for a reason, yes, but the incomplete passage through it also exists for a reason. Your soul did not accidentally slip through the cracks. Your memories were not meant to be forgotten, at least not completely, at least not yet. The question now becomes, what kind of memory are you carrying, and why was it allowed to come through? This is where the mystery deepens, because not all karmic memory is the same. The weight you feel, the knowing you carry, the patterns that repeat in your life, these have different origins, different purposes, and different paths of resolution. Understanding which type of karmic memory lives in you is the first step toward understanding why you, specifically, were born remembering what most others have forgotten. If you have lived your life feeling like you carry too much, like you know too much, like you remember what you should not, you are about to discover that your experience has a name. Not all heavy karmic memory comes from the same source. Through decades of documented readings, Edgar Cayce identified patterns in how and why certain souls carry past life awareness into their present incarnation. Mystics, regression therapists, and those who work deeply with soul memory have observed these same patterns repeatedly. What emerges is a map, 4 archetypal ways that souls become carriers of heavy karmic memory. The first is the unfinished soul. These are souls who died before their karmic contracts were complete, who left behind major life lessons, relationships, or missions that were interrupted by sudden or untimely death. They reincarnate quickly, often within months or a few years, and they arrive carrying the urgency and unresolved energy of what they could not finish. Their memory is fresh, raw, immediate, and often deeply painful. The second is the ancient keeper. These souls carry memories not from a single past life, but from entire civilizations, forgotten eras, or profound collective experiences. They are old souls who have lived many, many times and who have agreed, whether consciously or at a level beyond conscious choice, to hold cultural memory sacred knowledge, or lost wisdom until humanity is ready to receive it again. Their memory is vast, impersonal, and often arrives as knowing rather than narrative. The third is the lineage healer. These souls are born carrying not their own past life memories, but the unresolved trauma, shame, addiction, or violence of their entire bloodline. They remember through their DNA, through the energetic inheritance passed down through generations. They are the ones chosen by their family system, often unconsciously, to metabolize what their ancestors could not heal, to break cycles that have repeated for hundreds of years. The fourth is the volunteer witness. These are the most mysterious of all. They are souls who, from the other side, saw what was needed on earth and chose to incarnate with memory intact. They volunteered to carry the weight of remembering so they could serve as bridges, as teachers, as living proof that consciousness continues beyond death. They are not carrying their own unfinished business. They are carrying memory as an act of service. Each type has different markers, different symptoms, different paths of healing. And each type reveals something profound about the purpose hidden within the weight. Over the next chapters, we will enter deeply into each archetype, exploring how to recognize which pattern lives in you, what your specific type of memory is trying to show you, and how to begin transforming burden into medicine. But we must begin with the heaviest, the most immediate, the most urgent, the souls who came back too soon because death interrupted what they were meant to complete. There are souls who do not wait long between lifetimes. Edgar Cayce's readings documented cases of souls who reincarnated within months of their previous death, sometimes into the same family, sometimes into the same geographic region, sometimes carrying injuries or memories so fresh that the new personality could barely form around them. These are the unfinished souls. In one documented case from the ARE archives, a young boy began having vivid nightmares at age 3. He described dying in a fire, being trapped behind a door that would not open, feeling the heat and the smoke and the terror. His parents dismissed it as childhood imagination until the boy began drawing the house from his dreams, a house with a specific layout, a red door, a window on the left side. Years later, through family genealogy research, they discovered that the boy's great-uncle had died in a house fire in that exact town, in a house matching that exact description, 40 years before the boy was born. But here is what makes this an unfinished soul case. The great-uncle had been trying to someone else when he died. He had run back into the burning house to rescue a child and never made it out. His death was not just sudden, it was mid-mission. He died in the act of saving a life, and that incompletion carved itself so deeply into his soul that when he returned, the memory came with him. This is the signature of the unfinished soul, death that interrupts purpose. It might be sudden death, a car accident, a heart attack, a violent act. It might be death during a pivotal moment, while giving birth, while speaking a truth, while making a vow that could not be kept. It might be death that leaves behind devastating grief in others, creating energetic cords that pull the soul back quickly rather than allowing it to rest and integrate on the other side. Cayce taught that when death comes too soon, the soul remains what he called earthbound for a period of time, not as a ghost necessarily, but as consciousness that has not fully released its attachment to the life that was interrupted. When that soul reincarnates, it carries a kind of psychic urgency, a feeling that time is running out, that something essential must be completed now. If you are an unfinished soul, you will know it by these markers. You have dreams of dying in specific ways, drowning, falling, being shot, burning, and these dreams feel more like memories than imagination. You wake from them with your body responding as if the death is happening now. You have irrational fears connected to how you died before, a terror of water that has no current life cause, a panic in enclosed spaces when you have never been trapped, an overwhelming dread of certain types of pain, certain sounds, certain smells. You have obsessive drives that make no sense in your current context. You feel an urgency to protect children even though you have none. You feel compelled to study medicine even though your family has no connection to it. You feel you must speak certain truths, complete certain creative works, fulfill certain promises, and you do not know why, but the need feels ancient and absolute. And most of all, you feel you are running out of time. Always running out of time. Even as a child, you felt this. A sense that you have been here before, that you are trying again, that you failed once and must not fail again. This is not anxiety about the future. This is memory of interruption, encoded at the soul level, driving you forward with an urgency that exhausts you. The weight you carry is not from having done something wrong in a past life. The weight comes from having died before you could complete something essential, and your soul coming back to try again before the memory could fade. Here is the gift hidden in this burden. Unfinished souls are driven by a loyalty that transcends lifetimes. You came back because you made a promise, because you loved someone, because you saw a purpose worth dying for and then worth living for again. Your memory is not punishment. It is evidence of your soul's fierce commitment to completion. The healing path for unfinished souls involves two movements. First, you must identify what was left incomplete. This often requires past life regression work, deep dream work, or working with a practitioner trained in karmic pattern recognition. You are looking for the core wound, the moment of interruption, the thing your soul has been trying to finish across the boundary of death. Second, you must complete it in this life, not as it was, but as it can be now. If you died trying to save someone, perhaps you complete it by becoming a healer. If you died with words unspoken, perhaps you complete it by speaking truth now, by writing, by teaching. If you died leaving loved ones behind, perhaps you complete it by showing up fully for the relationships in front of you. Completion does not mean repeating the past. It means fulfilling the essence of what was interrupted, bringing it forward in a form that serves this life, this time, this incarnation. And when that completion occurs, the urgency finally releases. The feeling of running out of time dissolves, and the soul, at last, can rest into the present moment, no longer haunted by what it could not finish, but empowered by what it has finally, courageously brought to closure. There is a different kind of remembering that has nothing to do with your last life, or even your last 10 lives. Some souls carry memories from so far back that they predate modern civilization itself. They remember temples that have been ruins for thousands of years. They recognize symbols that appear in no living language. They grieve for worlds that rose and fell before recorded history began. These are the ancient keepers. Edgar Cayce's readings on Atlantis are perhaps the most famous example of this phenomenon. Again and again, Cayce encountered souls whose past life memories stretched back to that legendary civilization, not as fantasy or metaphor, but as actual incarnational experience. He described souls who had been priests in Atlantean temples, engineers who worked with crystal technologies, healers who understood energy medicine that has been lost for 12,000 years. But the readings went deeper than nostalgia. Cayce saw that certain souls had volunteered at the end of Atlantis to carry specific knowledge forward, to preserve it in their consciousness until humanity evolved enough to use it wisely again. These souls reincarnated over and over, lifetime after lifetime, holding memory that was not personal but civilizational, not individual but collective. They were living libraries. If you are an ancient keeper, your experience of memory is different from the unfinished soul. You do not remember a single interrupted life. You remember layers. You remember eras. You carry a knowing that feels impersonal, almost downloaded, as if it exists in you but does not quite belong to you. You might find yourself inexplicably drawn to certain ancient cultures, Egypt, Lemuria, Tibet, the Maya, not as intellectual interest, but as soul recognition. You visit these places or see images of them and you feel grief. Not the grief of a single lost home, but the grief of entire worlds that no longer exist. You might have skills or knowledge you were never taught. You understand sacred geometry without studying it. You can read energy in landscapes, in buildings, in symbols. You know things about healing, about consciousness, about the structure of reality. And when people ask where you learned it, you have no answer. You just know. This knowing can feel isolating. Ancient keepers often describe feeling out of time, as if they were born into the wrong era, as if they are waiting for the world to catch up to what they remember. They watch modern civilization make the same mistakes they witnessed before, and they carry a bone-deep exhaustion that comes from having seen it all already. Cayce taught that these souls often incarnate during times of civilizational transition, periods when humanity is on the brink of either breakthrough or collapse. They come back now, in this era, because the knowledge they carry is needed. Technologies, spiritual practices, ways of relating to Earth and to each other that were lost when Atlantis fell, when other great civilizations fell. These are beginning to be remembered, and the ancient keepers are the ones doing the remembering. But here is the burden. Holding memory for an entire civilization is exhausting. You did not choose this as an individual. You are part of a soul collective, a group of consciousness that made a pact long ago to preserve what must not be forgotten. And that pact lives in your bones, in your dreams, in the strange moments when you speak words you do not remember learning or understand technologies you have never studied. The healing path for ancient keepers is not about releasing the memory. It is about learning to carry it without being crushed by it. This requires grounding practices. Ancient keepers can become so lost in the vastness of what they remember that they struggle to be present in this single, small human life. You must learn to anchor, to come back to the body, to tend the garden, pay the bills, love the person in front of you, even while holding the memory of empires that turned to dust. It also requires finding your work. The knowledge you carry is not meant to stay locked inside you. You are not a museum exhibit, you are a living transmission. Somewhere in your life, there is a way to give that knowledge form. It might be through art, through writing, through teaching, through healing modalities, through design, through technology. The ancient keepers who suffer most are the ones who never find the channel for what they carry. And finally, it requires understanding that you are not alone in this. There are many ancient keepers incarnate right now, more than in most eras. You are part of a soul network, and even if you have not met them in person, you are connected beneath the surface. When you begin to share what you know, you will find others who recognize it, who feel it, who remember it too. Your memory is not madness. It is preservation. And this world, in this moment, desperately needs what you have kept alive. Some souls are born carrying weight that is not their own. They arrive in families haunted by unspoken traumas, by addictions that pass from parent to child, by patterns of violence or shame or silence that stretch back generations. And from the moment they take their first breath, they feel it, this heaviness in the bloodline, this grief that belongs to people they never met, this pain encoded in their very DNA. These are the lineage healers. Edgar Cayce understood that karma is not only individual, it is also collective and familial. In his readings, he described how souls choose their family lines strategically, incarnating into lineages where they have both karmic ties and karmic work to complete. But some souls do not come simply to work out their own patterns, they come to heal the entire line. Modern science has begun to catch up with this ancient knowing. The field of epigenetics has shown that trauma is inherited biologically, that the experiences of your grandparents, your great-grandparents, your ancestors going back several generations can alter gene expression in ways that affect your nervous system, your mental health, your physical body. The Holocaust survivors' descendants carry measurable biological signatures of that trauma. The descendants of enslaved peoples carry it. The descendants of war, famine, displacement, abuse. It lives in the body, passed down through generations. But epigenetics only describes the mechanism. It does not explain why certain souls are born into these lineages and others are not. It does not explain why, within a single family, one child seems to carry the full weight of ancestral pain, while their siblings remain relatively untouched. Cayce taught that lineage healers are souls who have agreed, at a level beyond conscious choice, to incarnate into wounded family systems specifically to metabolize the trauma. They are not victims of their lineage, they are volunteers. From the soul's perspective, they saw the unhealed patterns repeating generation after generation, and they chose to be the one who finally stops the cycle. If you are a lineage healer, you will recognize yourself in this experience. You feel responsible for your family in ways your siblings do not. Even as a child, you sensed that something was wrong, that there were secrets no one spoke of, that grief lived in the walls of your home. You became the caretaker, the emotional mediator, the one trying to fix what was broken long before you were born. You carry fears and compulsions that match your ancestors' experiences, not your own. If your grandmother survived famine, you might hoard food even though you have never been hungry. If your great-grandfather was an alcoholic, you might struggle with addiction even though your own childhood was stable. If your lineage carries a history of violence, you might feel rage in your body that belongs to someone else's story. You have dreams or visions of ancestors you never knew. You see their faces, hear their names, feel their sorrows. Sometimes you know things about family history that no one ever told you, things you later discover are true. And most distinctively, you are the one in your family who breaks the pattern. You are the one who stops the cycle of abuse, who gets sober when everyone else drinks, who speaks the truth that has been silenced for generations, who refuses to pass the trauma forward. This is exhausting work. Lineage healing is not a single event. It is a process that can take decades. You are carrying not just your own life, but the unprocessed grief, rage, shame, and fear of multiple generations. You are digesting what your ancestors could not. You are feeling what they refused to feel, speaking what they could not speak, healing what they left unhealed. And often your family resists. When you begin to change, when you start to heal, the family system pushes back. They call you too sensitive, too dramatic. They accuse you of betraying family loyalty by talking about what happened. They distance themselves, reject you, exile you, because your healing threatens the structure that has held the family together, even if that structure was built on silence and denial. The healing path for lineage healers requires fierce boundaries and profound self-compassion. First, you must separate what is yours from what belongs to the lineage. This is the hardest discernment of all. Therapeutic modalities like internal family systems, constellation work, or somatic therapies can help you trace which wounds are from this lifetime and which you inherited. You might discover that the depression you thought was yours is actually your grandmother's ungrieved loss, that the anxiety is your father's unprocessed war trauma, that the shame is 3 generations of family secrets you were never told. Second, you must do the ritual work of releasing it. Lineage healing often requires symbolic acts, writing letters to ancestors and burning them, creating altars for the dead, performing ceremonies that acknowledge the pain and ask for it to be transformed. Many traditions have practices for this. The Buddhist concept of transferring merit to ancestors, the indigenous practices of honoring the dead, the Christian idea of praying for souls in purgatory. The form matters less than the intention. You are saying, I see what you could not heal, I honor it, and I release it from continuing forward. Third, you must grieve. Lineage healers often carry a grief that is existential, ancient, collective. You are not just grieving your own losses, you are grieving for all of them. For the great-great-grandmother who died in childbirth. For the grandfather who went to war and came back broken. For all the children who were not protected, all the voices that were silenced, all the love that could not be expressed. This grief is sacred. It is the grief that finally allows the lineage to move. And when you complete this work, when you heal what they could not, you change the entire family field, not just forward into your own children, but backward. Energetically, spiritually, in ways that transcend linear time, your healing ripples into the past and liberates those who came before you. You are not burdened by your lineage. You are the healer your lineage has been waiting for. Now we arrive at the most surprising truth of all. Some souls are born with heavy karmic memory, not because they must carry it, but because they chose it. These are the volunteer witnesses, souls who, from the other side, looked at humanity's suffering and made a decision. They saw that the world needed teachers who could speak from lived experience, healers who understood trauma from the inside, guides who could walk others through darkness because they had walked through it themselves. And so they volunteered to incarnate with memory intact. Edgar Cayce's readings described a category of souls he called teachers or Waishwas, advanced souls who incarnate specifically to serve, who take on difficult lives not as punishment but as mission. These souls often choose challenging circumstances, difficult families, health struggles, experiences of trauma or loss. They choose these not because they deserve suffering, but because they understand that the wisdom born from struggle is medicine the world needs. In one reading, Cayce described a soul who had reached a level of spiritual development where it could have remained in higher realms, no longer needing to incarnate on earth. But this soul chose to come back, specifically choosing a life that would include great pain because it wanted to develop compassion at the deepest level, to truly understand human suffering so it could serve others with authentic empathy rather than abstract knowledge. This is the mark of the volunteer witness. If this is you, your memory does not feel like your own karma. You do not have the sense of needing to resolve unfinished business or work through personal patterns. Instead, you carry memory that feels more like witnessing, as if you have seen things, experienced things, remembered things specifically so you could understand them deeply enough to help others who are going through similar experiences now. You might remember lives of extreme suffering, persecution, slavery, violent death, profound loss. But when you explore these memories, there is no attachment to them, no personal charge. It's as if you went through them in order to gather data, to understand the human condition from every angle, to become fluent in the language of pain so you could translate it for others. You often find that your most difficult experiences in this life serve others more than they serve you. Your breakdown becomes someone else's breakthrough. Your dark night of the soul lights the way for others walking the same path. Your wounds become your medicine, but not in the way that phrase usually means, not through personal healing that happens to help others as a side effect, but through deliberate cultivation of wisdom specifically for the purpose of service. Volunteer witnesses often feel a strange detachment from their own suffering. While they are in it, they observe it. They note what helps and what doesn't. They remember what the darkness feels like, what words bring comfort, what presence is needed. And later, when they sit with someone in similar pain, they know exactly what to say, exactly how to hold space, exactly what that person needs, because they chose to experience it themselves first. This can create a confusing emotional landscape. You might feel guilty for not being more traumatized by your trauma. You might wonder why you recover more quickly than others, why you don't hold resentment, why you can speak about painful things without falling apart. The reason is that at a soul level, you knew this was temporary, that you chose it, that it was part of your curriculum rather than your identity. But here is the burden of the volunteer witness. You can become so focused on serving others that you forget to tend your own humanity. You can start to believe that your own pain doesn't matter because it was chosen. You can bypass your own healing process because you're so busy using your wounds to help others. You can become addicted to being needed, to being the one others turn to, because that role validates the sacrifice you made. The healing path for volunteer witnesses is learning to honor both the service and the self. Yes, you volunteered for this. Yes, your experiences are medicine for others, but you are still a human being who needs care, rest, boundaries, and your own healing. The fact that you chose a difficult life does not mean you are not allowed to struggle with it. The fact that you carry memory for the purpose of service does not mean you must be in service mode every moment of every day. You must learn to receive, not only give, to be held, not only hold, to let others care for you, not because you are broken, but because you are human. And you must guard against spiritual bypassing, using the framework of "I chose this" as a way to avoid actually feeling and processing your pain. Choice does not erase impact. Purpose does not cancel suffering. You can honor the sacred mission of your life while still acknowledging that it is hard, that it hurts, that you are tired. The gift of the volunteer witness is immense. You have agreed to carry memory that is not personally yours, to experience suffering you did not karmically need, to walk through fire specifically so you can guide others through the same flames. This is a form of spiritual warriorship, and it requires tremendous courage. But remember, even warriors need to rest. Even teachers need to be students. Even those who carry light for others are allowed to sit in their own darkness and ask for help. Your service is sacred, and so are you. There is something parents notice, sometimes with wonder, sometimes with fear. Their child speaks of people who are not there, describes places they have never been, tells stories of "when I was big before," or "when I lived in the other house," or "before I was born." And these stories are too detailed, too specific, too emotionally charged to be imagination. Children remember more than adults. This is not folklore. This is observable, documented, and deeply significant. Researchers like Dr. Ian Stevenson spent decades collecting cases of young children with verified past life memories, children who could describe details of previous lives, name people they had never met in this life, identify locations they had never visited. The majority of these cases involve children between ages 2 and 6. By age 7 or 8, the memories begin to fade. By adolescence, they are usually gone. Why? Edgar Cayce taught that children exist closer to the veil. They have only recently crossed from the world of soul consciousness into the world of physical incarnation, and for the first few years, they still have one foot on each side. Their identity is not yet fully formed. Their sense of being this person, in this body, in this life, is still fluid. And in that fluidity, past life memories can surface more easily. He also taught that young children are still in communication with the other side in ways adults have forgotten. They see what we no longer see. They remember what we have trained ourselves to forget. The imaginary friends, the nighttime visitors, the knowledge of things that haven't happened yet. These are not all fantasy. Some of it is genuine soul awareness that has not yet been conditioned out of them. But as the child grows, several things occur that cause the memories to fade. First, the current life identity becomes stronger. The child develops a clear sense of "I am Alex" or "I am Sophia," and that identity, that personality, crowds out the memories of being someone else. The soul memory doesn't disappear, but it gets pushed into the background, into the unconscious, because the conscious mind can only hold one story at a time. Second, the family system often suppresses the memories. Parents, out of discomfort or disbelief, tell the child they are making it up, that it's just a dream, that they need to stop talking about such things. The child learns that remembering is not safe, not acceptable, and they internalize this message. The memories do not disappear, they go underground. Third, the world teaches forgetfulness. School, social conditioning, the relentless focus on the material and the measurable, all of this trains the child to dismiss the subtle, the mystical, the remembered. By the time they are adolescents, most children have learned that memory of other lives is either impossible or irrelevant, and so they stop attending to it. But not all children forget. Some carry the memories into adulthood, quieter, less dramatic, but still present. These are often the unfinished souls or the volunteer witnesses whose mission requires them to remember. For them, the fading does not happen, or it happens only partially. They grow up feeling split between two realities, the one they are living and the one they remember. If you are an adult who still carries clear past life memories from childhood, you were likely told, at some point, that you were making it up, that what you remembered was impossible, that you needed to let it go. And perhaps you tried. Perhaps you pushed the memories down, learned not to speak of them, trained yourself to focus only on this life, this identity, this acceptable reality. But the memories did not leave. They just went quiet, waiting for you to be ready to listen again. For parents whose children are currently remembering, the guidance is simple but profound. Do not dismiss what they are telling you. Do not force them to forget. But also, do not make the memories more important than this current life. Validate what they remember. Listen without fear. Create space for them to speak about it if they need to, but also help them stay grounded in this present incarnation. Remind them of their name, their family, their life now. Teach them that yes, they may have lived before, but this life matters too. This body, these relationships, this moment. These are also real, also important, also worthy of their full attention. The goal is integration, not suppression. The child learns to hold both truths, I remember and I am here now. And for adults who are working with their own childhood memories now, the invitation is the same. You do not have to choose between honoring what you remember and living fully in the present. You can hold both. The past lives you carry are real, and so is this one. Remembering does not mean living in the past. It means bringing the wisdom of the past into the choices of the present. Memory does not only live in the mind. It writes itself into the body. Edgar Cayce was explicit about this in his readings. Again and again, he traced chronic physical symptoms, unexplained pain, mysterious illnesses, phobias that made no medical sense, back to traumatic experiences in past lives. A woman with debilitating knee pain who had been tortured with leg irons in a previous incarnation. A man with severe respiratory issues who had drowned. A child with an inexplicable fear of knives who had died by stabbing in another life. The body, Cayce taught, is a record keeper. Every experience the soul has ever had leaves an imprint, and when those experiences were traumatic, violent, or unresolved, the imprint can manifest as physical symptom in the current life. Modern somatic psychology has begun to catch up with this understanding. Trauma therapists now recognize that the body stores memory independently of conscious awareness. A person can have no cognitive memory of an event, but their body remembers, tensing in certain situations, bracing for blows that never come, carrying pain in specific locations that have no current life injury. What somatic therapy is still learning is that this storage can extend beyond one lifetime. If you carry heavy karmic memory, you likely carry it physically. Your body may be trying to tell you something that your conscious mind does not yet understand. Chronic pain in areas where you died or were wounded in previous lives. A persistent ache in your chest if you were stabbed in the heart. neck pain if you were hanged, lower back pain if you died in childbirth or from a fall. The body remembers the final trauma of the last life, and sometimes it continues to hold that pattern until it is acknowledged and released. Birthmarks that correspond to fatal injuries from past lives. This phenomenon has been documented extensively. Children born with birthmark patterns that match how they died in a previous incarnation. A mark on the temple where a bullet entered. A line across the throat where it was cut. A patch of discolored skin where fire burned. These are not random, they are soul memory made flesh. Phobias with no current life origin. You have never drowned in this life, but you cannot go near deep water. You have never been in a fire, but the smell of smoke sends you into panic. You have never been betrayed, but you cannot trust anyone fully. These are not pathologies, they are survival memories from when the fear was justified, when the danger was real. Nervous system dysregulation rooted in ancient survival patterns. Some souls arrive in this life with their nervous system already set to high alert, hypervigilance, chronic anxiety, and inability to relax even when safe. This is often past life trauma stored in the autonomic nervous system, the body continuing to protect against dangers that no longer exist in this timeline. Unexplained chronic illnesses that resist treatment. When modern medicine finds nothing structurally wrong, when every test comes back normal but you are still suffering, it is worth exploring whether the root is karmic rather than physical. Cayce worked with numerous cases where chronic fatigue, digestive issues, or autoimmune conditions were connected to past life experiences of starvation, poisoning, or systemic oppression. The recognition of these symptoms is the first step, but recognition alone does not heal. The body needs more than understanding, it needs release. Somatic release practices can help. Trauma-informed bodywork, breathwork, yoga, specifically designed to release stored trauma. These modalities create space for the body to discharge what it has been holding. You might shake, cry, make sounds, move in ways that feel strange but necessary. This is not breakdown. It is the body finally letting go of what it has carried for lifetimes. Energy clearing work is also essential. Past life regression can identify the origin of the somatic symptom, but energetic healing, Reiki, shamanic extraction, cord cutting, timeline healing can address the imprint directly. You are working at the level of the energy body, the blueprint beneath the physical, and when you clear the karmic pattern there, the physical symptom often follows. And sometimes, the body needs to be witnessed in its pain before it will release it. You might need to write about the death you remember, to speak it out loud, to acknowledge what happened. The body has been holding this secret, this memory, this wound, and it needs you to see it, to honor it, before it can transform. If you have lived your whole life with unexplained physical symptoms, with pain that doctors cannot diagnose or treat, with a body that feels like it is remembering something, trust that knowing. Your body is not broken. It is remembering. And when you finally listen to what it has been trying to tell you, when you give it permission to release what it has carried across lifetimes, the relief can be profound. Not always immediate, not always total, but real. Your body has been waiting for you to understand. Now you do. There is a necessary truth we must speak now. Not all karmic memory serves the soul. While heavy memory can be purposeful, sacred, even chosen, it can also become a trap. It can consume you, destabilize you, keep you so focused on what you were that you cannot be who you are. This is the shadow side of remembering, and it must be acknowledged with honesty and compassion. Edgar Cayce warned repeatedly in his readings about souls who became so attached to their past life identities that they could not function in their current one. He described cases where people became obsessed with past life recall, spending all their time and energy trying to recover every detail of every incarnation, neglecting their present relationships, their health, their responsibilities. He also warned about souls who used past life identity as an excuse for current life dysfunction. I was royalty in a past life, so I shouldn't have to work. I was a victim then, so I'm a victim now. I was powerful before, so I deserve power now. This is spiritual bypassing of the deepest kind, using karma as justification for avoiding the actual work of this incarnation. There are warning signs that karmic memory has crossed from gift into curse. Obsession with past lives at the expense of present life. If you spend more time researching your past incarnations than building your current relationships, career, or creative work, this is imbalance. If your past life identity feels more real, more important, more interesting than your current one, this is dissociation. Using karmic identity to avoid current responsibility. If you explain away every challenge as karmic payback without taking action to change your circumstances, you are using spirituality as escape. If you refuse to address addiction, trauma, or dysfunctional patterns because it's just karma I have to burn through, you are abdicating your agency. Becoming lost in ancient grief. Some souls who remember civilizational collapse, profound loss, or collective trauma become so consumed by that grief that they cannot find joy, connection, or hope in this lifetime. They are grieving for Atlantis while ignoring the beauty of the sunset in front of them. They are mourning the past while their actual life passes them by. Identifying as a victim across lifetimes. If every past life memory you access is about being persecuted, betrayed, oppressed, or harmed, and you begin to form an identity around eternal victimhood, you have fallen into a dangerous pattern. Victim consciousness, when carried across lifetimes, becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. Spiritual inflation. Believing that because you were important in a past life, you are entitled to importance now. This is ego wearing the costume of spiritual memory, and it separates you from genuine humility and service. The discernment question is simple. Is your karmic memory helping you be more present, more compassionate, more effective in this life? Or is it pulling you out of this life into fantasy, avoidance, or grandiosity? If the answer is the latter, you need support. This might mean working with a therapist who understands both trauma and spiritual experience. Someone who can help you separate genuine past life memory from psychological projection, who can guide you in integrating what is real while releasing what is fantasy. It might mean grounding practices that bring you firmly back into your body, your current identity, your present moment. Gardening, cooking, physical labor, anything that reminds you that this life, this body, this moment matters. It might mean taking a break from all past life work. Sometimes the healthiest thing a soul can do is say, "For now, I am only focusing on this incarnation. The past can wait." This is not denial. It is appropriate boundaries with memory that has become overwhelming. And it might mean addressing underlying mental health conditions that are being mistaken for or amplified by karmic memory. Dissociative disorders, complex PTSD, psychosis. These can sometimes present with past life memories or identity confusion. A skilled clinician can help you determine what is spiritual experience and what is psychological condition requiring treatment. There is no shame in needing help. There is no failure in admitting that the memory has become too heavy, too confusing, too destabilizing. Karmic memory is meant to serve your evolution, not imprison you. If it has become prison, the most courageous thing you can do is ask for the key. Now we turn toward the practical, the embodied, the how. If you carry heavy karmic memory, you need tools, not just understanding, but actual practices that help you work with what you remember in ways that are grounded, safe, and transformative. Past life regression, when and how to explore. Past life regression can be powerful medicine, but it must be approached with care. Not every memory needs to be fully explored. Not every lifetime needs to be relived. The question is always, will accessing this memory serve my healing and evolution, or will it simply re-traumatize me? Work with a trained regression therapist, not alone. The unconscious holds not only past life memory, but also psychological material, and navigating that terrain requires skilled guidance. A good therapist will help you access what needs to be seen while protecting you from being overwhelmed. Begin with the symptom, not the story. If you have chronic knee pain, begin there. If you have a recurring nightmare, begin there. Let the body or the psyche guide you to which past life needs attention, rather than going on a fishing expedition through all your incarnations. After regression, integration is essential. Journal about what you discovered. Speak it with trusted others. Allow yourself to grieve, to rage, to feel whatever emotions the memory brought up. Do not rush past this. The healing happens in the integration, not just in the remembering. Somatic release practices, allowing the body to discharge old patterns. Your body has been holding karmic memory in your muscles, your fascia, your nervous system. It needs permission and pathways to let that energy move. Trauma-sensitive yoga creates safe space for the body to release without re-traumatizing. Practices like Trauma Center, Trauma-sensitive yoga, TCTSY, work specifically with stored trauma, using gentle movement and breath to help the nervous system recalibrate. Breathwork, particularly holotropic breathwork or conscious connected breathing, can bring up and release deep somatic patterns. This is powerful work and should be done with trained facilitators who can hold space for whatever emerges. Shaking practices, drawn from somatic experiencing and indigenous traditions, allow the body to discharge stress the way animals do after escaping predators. Stand, soften your knees, and allow your body to shake. It will feel awkward at first, then necessary. Let it move for as long as it needs to. Energy clearing rituals, severing cords to past life trauma. Energetic work addresses the level where karmic patterns actually live, not in the physical body, not in the mind, but in the subtle body, the blueprint beneath form. Cord-cutting ceremonies sever energetic attachments to past life people, places, or events. You might visualize cords of light extending from your body to the past, See them clearly, thank them for what they taught you, and then cut them with intention, asking that all energy return to its source. Timeline healing meditations involve going back to the moment of past life death or trauma and rewriting it energetically, not changing what happened, but changing the energetic imprint it left. You might visualize your current, healed self going back to comfort your past life self, to tell them they are safe now, to help them release and move on. Shamanic extraction, performed by trained practitioners, removes energetic intrusions or attachments that do not belong to you. Sometimes what feels like past life memory is actually energy from someone else, and extraction work can clear that. Daily practices for staying rooted in present time. Memory carriers need regular practices that anchor them in the now, reminding them that this life, this body, this moment is primary. Morning grounding. Upon waking, before you do anything else, place your hands on your body and say your current name out loud 3 times. I am name, I am name, I am name. Feel your body, feel this breath. Orient to this room, this day, this life. Sensory anchoring. Throughout the day, when you feel yourself drifting into memory or dissociation, engage your senses. Name 5 things you can see, 4 you can hear, 3 you can touch, 2 you can smell, 1 you can taste. This brings you back. Gratitude for this life. Each evening, name 3 specific things fro. This current incarnation that you are grateful for. Not abstract gratitude, but concrete appreciation for this body, these people, these experiences. Protection practices for empaths who feel others' karmic wounds. If you are sensitive to energy, you might not only feel your own karmic memory, but also pick up others. You need boundaries. Shielding visualization. Each morning, imagine a boundary of light around your energy field. Choose what it's made of: golden light, mirrors that reflect back, a cloak of protection. Set the intention: only what is mine stays, everything else returns to its source. Energetic hygiene. After being in crowds, after intense conversations, after any situation where you absorbed energy that isn't yours, cleanse. Salt baths, smudging, visualization of light washing through your field. Find what works for you and do it regularly. Conscious permission. Practice saying, internally or aloud, that is not mine to carry. When you feel yourself taking on someone else's pain, memory, or emotional state, name it, acknowledge it, and release it. These practices are not one-time fixes. They are ongoing maintenance for souls who carry what most do not. You are doing work that is invisible to others, work that has no external markers of progress, work that requires daily tending. But it is sacred work, and you are not doing it alone.